Brazil, because what I was hearing as I asked my questions, you wouldn't hear it in church, you wouldn't hear it in school, you wouldn't hear it on the TV, you wouldn't hear it from the government. It was all unofficial folklore, and yet it had this power to persist. So we'll go somewhere else now. We'll go to the land of my fathers on my father's side. That's Ghana, West Africa. And we'll go there between 1874 and 1915, because that was the period during which the British ran Ghana. Now, when the British went into Ghana, they had a goal similar to Pedro Alvarez Cabral in Brazil, and that was to run the country, to set the commodity prices, the exchange rates, set up the banking systems so that Britain could siphon off the wealth, so that the British Crown could get the Ghanaian gold, and so that the British could benefit from sitting at the top of the economic tree and run the country. And so that's how it went until 1950, and my family has the liberation of Ghana from British rule to the extent that has happened. And during that time, British Christianity was the thing to know and believe, and the local indigenous knowledge, well, that had to be irrelevant. So the British didn't want alternative news, alternative truth, alternative history, didn't want any kind of story that would embolden independence movements or anything like that. They wanted full spectrum dominance, so the British provided the newspapers, the media, the school teachers, the police, the civil servants, so on and so forth. And the local knowledge had to be marginalized. Now, in colonization in other parts of the world, this has been done very, very brutally. So when the Roman Catholic Church discovered that there was a blip in the south of France in the medieval period, where they hadn't quite bedded down Catholic Orthodoxy, they effected a genocide of around 1 million people. The population of Languedoc were all slaughtered by a succession of 19 popes to get rid of the alternative information, empowering information that those people had. In Central and South America, the Portuguese and the Spanish slaughtered the priesthoods. They executed them, got rid of anyone who could read the ancient texts, and burned the libraries. And it was a double measure. They wanted to burn everything that culture had curated in written form, and in case any texts survived, well, no one would know how to read them because they'd have killed the priests, and so it was a very, very violent period. Well, Britain didn't do that in Ghana. Instead, it simply ran things like this, that if you wanted to get ahead as a young person in Ghana, then you were going to speak British, and dress British, and act British. And to the extent you could do that, well, you look like a good candidate for a good job and promotion, so on and so forth. And part of that cultural reprogramming meant you distanced yourself from your indigenous roots. And so if you had a mother or an aunt or a grandmother who hadn't quite bought into British Christianity, and he still practiced the old ways, and he still practiced healing, and he still had experiences of interdimensional culture, well, you would be taught to look down on that person as a primitive, uneducated, a witch doctor, an idol worshipper. This was a grandmother to be ashamed of. And to an extent, Ghanaian culture bought into that, and it was through that kind of prejudice that Ghanaians would distance generations and generations of ancestral wisdom because they wanted to be successful in British Ghana. And so that's how things went until 1950. I share a little bit in my book The Scars of Haiti as I began to peel back the layers of that story in the history of my own family and my wife's family. If we go briefly to Canada, the United States of America, and Australia, if we go between 1880 and 1980, we will be in a period when the governments of those nations were doing their level best to get rid of indigenous memory and even to get rid of the continuity of the indigenous peoples as an ethnic force. So in Canada, over that period, 1880 to 1980, there was a stolen generation policy in which the state, in collaboration with the churches, would forcibly kidnap First Nation children and imprison them in what were called boarding schools, largely Catholic boarding schools, where they would be educated. What this really meant was that they were being taken from their First Nation families and stripped of their identity, abused, tortured, beaten, forbidden to speak their native language, forbidden to use their real names, and Christian Orthodoxy would be programmed into them, and every memory of who they were and of their traditions and of the abilities that they were growing in their First Nation families, that would not be extinguished. I remember hearing the story of a man by the name of Ken Thomas. He was part of the stolen generation. He was taken by force by Catholic nuns when he was 6 years old, imprisoned in one of these detention centers, euphemistically known as boarding schools. And the first thing they did, when they got in there, was hold him down and shave off all his hair.
As Amir said, she just threw up.
It was an absolute
What did y'all all eat?
beginning to 10 years of full spectrum of programming. The reason that the hair was shaved off was not only to do with memory and identity, but because the Catholic nuns knew that First
The same thing?
Canadians used their hair to relate to the environment around them, that there are higher cognitive abilities that are related to long, healthy hair, and they wanted to cut off any latent abilities that Ken Thomas had at the age of 6 when they kidnapped him. I was speaking to a friend of mine who is a Navajo guardian, and he explained a little more about the significance of the shaving of the hair, and I'll come back to that a little later. Lots of language aspect of that, those speaking of their native language, and so they would forget the language and the stories that were carried in the living line of that language. My well-known had the same experience in the early 20th century as the British government tried to stamp out Welsh language to get rid of Welsh memory and Welsh story. In the USA, in that same period, 1880 to 1980, Native Americans in this country was illegalized. Can you imagine? The ceremonies were illegalized because the government did not want the transmission of information or higher cognitive abilities to be transmitted from one generation to the next. And they reckoned if they could stop it for 100 years, that would be enough to stop it altogether, to disempower the indigenous knowledge. In Canada, more than 10,000 of those kidnapped children were murdered by the indigenous and priests who were tasked with their care. And so now, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that is operating in Canada is exposing what is clearly intended as a cultural genocide. Well, no less was intended by the policies in the United States of America, and no less was intended by the stolen generation policies in Australia. Again, same period, between 1880 and 1980, Aboriginal children taken by force, imprisoned in youth detention centres, euphemistically known as missions. Again, it's a collaboration between state and church to stamp out the old knowledge, the old ways, cognitive power, memory, and replace it with Christian orthodoxy. Now, although that policy was stopped in about 1970,
They act like they hot.
Australia, there is a sense in which it is still in place. And it's done any
Journalists
more
and
suffering
they hot.
schools.
I keep putting on covers on them and they keep kicking the covers off.
Homelands of Aboriginal Australians. And so a few years ago, then Prime Minister Tony Abbott announced the latest raft of Aboriginal communities that would be defunded. 150 Aboriginal homelands defunded, which meant that if the children were to be educated, and they have to be educated, then they would have to be sent away from their families, from their parents, from their grandparents, to be educated in English as a refugee in their own country in another part of the state. But of course, they're being educated in English, they are losing their Aboriginal language, and they are losing all
See that, Johnny?
pronunciation.
Look, all Madden.
They were at home. So why
This is how you throw a bomb.
why is indigenous identity
Just toss it.
That's the same thing I did, but then they were messing me up.
You can't run too fast.
So that's exactly what I was doing, and then I kept scoring on them.
Sometimes you need to throw it short and you'll run faster than the ball and you'll mess up.
Exactly.
It's the same story.
That's what I was trying to show you. You let it run a little bit and then you pick up speed.
As soon as you see how conservative it is, that should be the signal to go and sit at the feet of the elders of these traditions, because by some miracle, those traditions have survived, and their stories have survived, and there are guardians who can initiate new generations into the knowledge and the ways, and the cognitive powers, and the ceremonies of their ancestors. And in echoes of that's exactly what I've done. I sit at the feet of those elders, curators, and guardians, and I listen to what is the information for us. What is the relevance today? What is the power of the powers so frightening of? And I find those traditions to be full of information that is empowering today. Let's join some more dots. Let's go to Jerusalem in the 7th century BCE. At that time, clearly, there were festivals rather similar to the ones I experienced in Brazil, because we could discover hundreds of handheld female figures, just like those corn figures I saw in Brazil, only these are made of terracotta. They're female figures, they're bare-breasted.
All right, Brandon, thanks very much. Welcome everyone to our brand new studios here in downtown Orlando in the EA Sports
Why was that?
Halftime Report.
Because in the 7th century BCE, the cult of the Queen of Heaven, oh my goodness, there's that name again, was being stamped out by reforming Judean kings. And we find the inscriptions on these figurines of Joshua, Anak, Khufu, Hathor, Astarte, who was to become Aphrodite in the Roman tradition. Once again, female entities being commemorated who are at the root of our story as human beings
defense has pitched the
with
shutout. Now they probably need to deliver a little breathing room, maybe make it a two-score game as they get first and 10.
Which you good for medicine, which you good to avoid, which you good for high consciousness, all credited to this female cadet. And take a look at that. 7th century BCE, they were trying to stamp that out. 1980, still trying to stamp it out. So what are they trying to stamp out?
Two runs in a row,
The story that's being
to
stamped
show
out is
for
the
it.
story
You don't
of
see that a
first
ton, do you?
contact.
The cornerback
The
coming
story
over the
that
middle of the
says
field
that
to make a run tackle.
Homo
That's someone with a
sapiens
ton
was
of
nurtured
confidence
by
to
another
feel like nothing is
intelligence.
pressuring him
That
on the side
human
of the field.
beings were
Sees that the ball's
assisted
moved to the middle
by
and just
another
sprints over there to
species
help out.
from off
He ends up
planet
getting the tackle.
who came
Well
and
played.
helped our
That one good
ancestors
for
to
only
establish
6, and it
themselves on
leaves
the
him with a
planet to
fourth
live in a
down.
non-animal
Look from
way,
you
a
there, partner. I think
non-subsistence
we're on the
way,
same
a
page
way
on
where we
that
could
one. Just his
farm
first
and build
catch. I think
towns
we
and
both thought he'd
cities
be a little more
and a great
active in the passing
civilization.
game.
Let's see if that's the
All
start
these
of them trying to get the
ceremonies
ball to him a little
commemorate the
bit more here in the
primordial
second half.
lesson in agronomy
They're indeed
and
going
medicine.
for it as they look
Whether you're going to Babylonia, Sumeria, the
They
Zulu
cannot
people, the
convert,
Mayan
and
people,
they
the
turn it
Dogon
over.
of West Africa,
Boy, a
Cherokee,
curious decision to
Iroquois,
go for
Aboriginal
it. Doesn't
Australia.
pan out.
The
And
stories
Dallas,
are
they'll
all
take
there
over in
of our
terrific
first
field
contact
position.
and the fact that we are part of the
Prescott
cosmic
looks to throw
family.
on first.
And much of that information is often carried by the
They push him
wise
back to the
women
34.
of the people group. Not
They'll wind up
always,
losing 8
but
on the sack
a
there,
lot of that
and it's
knowledge around
second
plants
down.
has resided
Well,
there.
that was an interesting
This
little
is
chess
information
match there
about a
because the offense
populated
went empty
universe.
set. No running
So
backs in
if
the
we had
backfield.
lived in a
So they're
world
trying to get
where
people out
indigenous
into a route
information
pretty
was
quickly.
celebrated
But guess
instead of
what?
suppressed,
The defense sees
there would
that.
never
They
have
go
been
ahead
a
and
period
move themselves
where
into
we
a
didn't
blitzing
know
situation
what a
and
close
come right
encounter
after the
was,
quarterback. They
or
had
what a
no guys
UFO
there that they could
was,
block.
or whether
They'll
we
have
were
it
alone
in
in
the
the
red
universe.
zone
We would
before
know
he
we're part of
crosses
the
over out
populated
of bounds.
universe, and we have
That'll be a
family, and
pickup
we
at
have
the 15
friends,
as that'll
and
lead
that
to
we
third
are
down.
related
And that was
to
yardage
those
that
who
they
have visited
needed
us
there
in the
after
deep
the
past.
sack on
We
first
would
down.
know
They didn't
more
get all
about
of
who
it
we
back.
are
And
as
now they
human
look at
beings.
third
We would
down
know more
as a manageable
about our
situation,
higher
one that they have a
cognitive
much better
powers.
chance of picking up.
They'll try for the first from Walker. And
But the
this has been a
shamans
familiar
and the
sight
wise
all
women
afternoon
of
as they
societies
stop
through
him
the ages
behind the
are the
line.
ones with the higher cognitive
Losing
powers,
2
the ones who
yards
can
that
do remote
time, and now
viewing
it's
and
fourth
future viewing
down.
and self-healing. These things are all tied in together with the information
Eventually able
that
to
they
knock
curate.
this
And
one
the information is
through.
not just about the
So kind of
past.
disappointing
It's
there. I
about
mean, yes, they get
implications
the
for
3,
now,
but with
not
starting
just
field
about our
position like
origins,
that, 3's
but
not what
about
you're
what
banking
is
on.
possible
No,
for
and you
us
just have to
today.
wonder if you can afford to
Possible
let
because
chances
of
like
our
that
higher
continue to
cognitive
pass you
abilities,
by. You've got to
possible
find
because we
ways
can switch
to
them
get the
back
ball to
on,
the end zone
and
and put
possible
sixes on the
because we are
scoreboard.
not alone. We have company, we have help, that it is possible to
And taken
engage.
down just
And so I'm
past
going
the
to talk a
20 at
little
about
bit
the
about
21-yard
engaging that
line.
help.
So now here come the
If you were to go
Dolphins.
for
Their
healing
defense has
to
done the
the
job. Now
wise
it's the
women
offense's
of
turn as
Southern
they've got it
Africa, to
first
the
and 10.
Nangas and Sangomas of Southern Africa, or if you were to go
And
to
they'll
the
run with LT to
shaman
begin the
of
drive.
South
Shoves him
America, of
aside.
Central America, or if you go to one of those
And they will
idol
just run
worshippers
downfield
in
across
Ghana,
the
or to
45.
Native American
47
guardians
yards
in
rushing for him now.
North
He's
America,
carried the
or to
ball
the
just 5
witchy women
times.
of
Sometimes it's hard to believe, but there are times this game is about
brave and
patience,
go
isn't
knock on the
it?
door
Guys
of
had
the
the game
cottage
he
with the
expected,
long-haired
but
woman
that run
who
there
lives in
may
it
get
on
him
the edge
going.
of
I
the
was just going to
forest in the
say, maybe that
fields
gives
in
him a little juice because
Great
you're right. He
Britain.
struggled, especially that first
You
half.
would
Yeah,
notice
and
that
then the
there's something
Browns
rather
always think
similar
to
about
themselves,
their
just
approach
hang
to
in there. Just
helping
one
you
big carry away
and getting
from
you
busting
healed
us
of
open. That's a
whatever it
good
is that
start
you
for
want
him.
healing from. Each of those figures, let's just call them a traditional healer, when you
And as
enter
they
their
come
room,
to the line,
would
they will
perceive
not be
you
able
as
to get off
entering
another play
with
as
a
time.
cloud of
Back
company,
now in
a
Miami.
cloud of
Ball on the
witnesses, as the
47-yard
New
line. Here's
Testament calls
second
it
and
in
3.
Hebrews chapter 12. They would perceive you as
On
being
play action,
accompanied
it's
by
Dobbs.
spirits,
Airing it
to use
out,
the
looking
language
for
of the New
Ridley.
Testament in 1 John
And
4.
it's knocked away
And
and
to get you healed,
incomplete.
they would
That was
want
for
to
the lead
tune in
right there.
to
They
a
know they're in a position
conversation
where fortune favors the
that's going on
brave. So they
between
took their
your
shot, but
spirits
couldn't connect.
and her spirits. And so the traditional healer
Back
knows
to
there's
throw
this
Dobbs.
conversation going on, and then will do things to
Throwing this
alter
ball
her
out
own
here to
state of
Tomlinson.
consciousness
And he is
so
going to
that she
have
can
the
tune
Dolphins
into this
first down. They
conversation.
needed 3. He doubled that to
Because
go
the
at 6.
cloud of
Not
spirits
sure that was
around you
necessarily a safety
is
valve
there
to
to
check down.
support
Throw on third
you,
down. Sometimes just try to
is
find
there
the
to
open guy,
support
get him
your
the ball.
healing
You
and
did
your
exactly
progress,
that
there to
and
give
found
you
a way to pick up
guidance.
a first down.
And
Now
all the
Tomlinson
traditional
on
healer has
first
to
and
do is
10.
tune in to
And
what
he'll take
they are
this one
saying
down to about the
so
40.
that he or she
Well, the
will
objective
know
there, I
what
mean,
to
yes, the
do
positive
to
gain,
help
that's
you.
nice, but work some
And that's
clock.
their
Yeah,
modality.
you're exactly right. But the
Healing
problem for them
is a
is still
contact
within a possession.
modality
So they
in
can't
those
just sit on it
traditions.
running the ball. They'll
And
have to
so
find
the
a way to
whole
throw
idea
it
of
from the play as
interdimensional
well.
contact,
He'll wind up getting 4
ancestral
down to the
spirits,
36.
contact phenomena is an intrinsic part of healing in that worldview. Now, at first, that seems
3
very, very
points
different to
separating
what
these
I
two
was taught
sides
when I
with
went
2
into
minutes
the
left
world
to
of
go in
ministry
the
back in the
fourth.
1980s.
So the Dolphins
Except I
as
now
we welcome you
realize
back
that many
in.
times
They're
I
facing
have
a critical
experienced
third
exactly
down
what
now
those
as they try to
traditional
hold on to
healers
this lead.
experience. And I talk in echoes of these about a lady
Here's
called
Dobbs
Boo.
to throw.
She came to our church for
And
healing
that's going to be
because she was really crippled
incomplete.
up
The
with terrible back
contact there
pain
enough to
and
jar
terrible
that ball
mobility
free.
issues.
And it brings up
And
fourth
she
down.
came to our church because we
And here's a
had a
big one
practice of
now.
praying
Trying
for
to
the sick in
hold
our
this
church.
lead. They're going to go
And
for
my
it here on
pastor,
fourth
Pastor
down.
Owen, I call him in the book, from out of the blue, it seems,
Dobbs is
suddenly
throwing.
asked this lady, B, technique that we had. And it became very clear very quickly that we absolutely hated her dad. And as she talked about her dad, her posture became even more scrunched up than it was before. And
so after the
it was a story of trauma,
now first and 10
trapped
inside the
in
25.
her body. Trapped emotion, to use that phrase. And
That one looks
Pastor
like he'll
Earl said,
throw here.
so you're ready to let go of all the resentment that you might feel about your dad, because though your dad had abused her as such, he had such issues that it was easy to see how she'd come out of that family so hurt and wounded by what had happened. Are you willing to let go of all the resentment rightly towards your dad, because that resentment is helping you, it's hurting you? Do you think you could let it go? Could you say, Father, forgive him, he knows not what he does?
So now
She said
a big
yes,
play here
because
as
I
the
can,
Dolphins
yes, I
will
am
go
ready.
for the 2.
And so she did that in her own words, and as soon as she did, I could hear her breathing change. Her breathing slow and deeper.
And of course on the
I
two-point
could see
try
her
on the action,
relaxing.
run or pass, they pass it
After
there
a
to
few
the
moments, she bent down to pick up her walking stick to go, and I said, B, we haven't prayed for your back yet. And suddenly she said, oh my goodness, I'm completely healed. And she was. She got up
after the
and she
touchdown,
walked,
here's
carrying her
to kick this one
crutches
away.
as she left the church and walked down the road. So I asked my boss, Pastor Irwin, what made you think to ask that question? Tell us about your dad. And he said, well, I don't know really, but when she walked in the room, I thought, well, this poor lady, she seems so out of balance. How can we help her? And I just threw the question out there. And the thought came to my mind, ask her about her dad. The thought came to my mind, is what he said. Now, as a young Christian, I only had one way to interpret that. That was a word of knowledge. That was the Spirit of God speaking a piece of information to a Christian worker, so the Christian worker can help the person who's come to ministry. If I told that story to a psychologist or an actor, they would say, the ancestors. The ancestors.
And this is intercepted, and that should
Now, to
do
be
it.
honest, I don't really know exactly where that thought came from.
And that one, Charles, is just going to about wrap up what was no doubt a dominating defensive performance.
Was I right? It was the Holy Spirit of God giving that information.
Just giving up 3
I have
points
no
in
way
the
of knowing.
NFL, that's
And
absolutely a
I
dominant
don't
performance
put
and
those
one that
two
they can build on.
possibilities out
And the
there as
Dolphins getting
dichotomies.
set to go here.
Because Irwin asked
And a few
God,
kneel downs should come very
but
close to
the help
finishing
can
this
come
one
from
off,
anywhere.
depending on
If
whether or
God
not
is
we
the
see any
source of the
defensive timeouts. They
cosmos
still
and
have
everything
2,
in it, that
but
in which
using
we
them
all
would just be
live and move and
prolonging
have our being,
what's really already been
as it was
decided.
called the nation of God.
The Cowboys
And we
going to
can
use
put our
their
question
second
to the
timeout
universe, to
now,
God, and the help
as
can
they'll
come from
head to the
anywhere.
sideline and talk
And
over what to do next.
Nango or Sangano would say that was an
Beautiful
ancestor who
fake.
provided
Shows him
help,
his
not dependent on God. That's just allocate. That's just the instrumentality of that moment. And I've since learned, of course, that the word of knowledge, as was that phrase, is used by traditional healers all around the world, and used by people who may have no religious belief or spiritual background. It's something we all experience. I do a lot of personal coaching, and very often I will say to my coachees, do you know, I'm beginning to believe that what it says in Hebrews 12 and the New Testament is right, that we all have a cloud of invisible witnesses, a cloud of ancestral helpers surrounding us, very interested in us and in how we're running the race
So the
marked out for
two-point
us.
conversion is
I'm
good,
beginning
and
to
they
believe we
add
all
on to
have a
their
cloud of
fourth-quarter
spiritual
lead.
help,
So they
and
go
that
with
from
a
time to
pass
time
on
they
the
give us a
two-point
little
try,
nudge
and able
or
to
give
convert
us
it,
a little
Charles.
word.
And a good job by the
Do you
offense
know,
figuring
I've
out
yet
their
to
two-point
find
play and using it
any
well.
coaching
It's
client
interesting how people
who
using the
doesn't
strategy
agree with
nowadays,
that,
though, isn't
and
it?
who
It
doesn't
really
say,
is.
I'm
I don't
coming
know
to
how
believe
much
that myself as
that brought
well.
that particular play
And
factored
not
in, but
because
with
it's
the
part of their
PAT
belief
moving back in
system.
15-16,
No,
that
it's
kind of
part of
changed
their
things, didn't it?
experience
It's really
as
a
they
part
go
of
through
everyone's
life.
strategy now. When I
That they're
talk with
getting these
coaches and
little
when we sit with them,
nudges, they're
they always
getting
talk
these
about they actually have
synchronicities, they're getting these
two-point
phrases
periods in
coming into
practice
their
now,
minds.
something they never really
And I
did
now
before.
know that it was their
And he's probably
implemented
realizing he should
Christianity,
have
just
stayed in
the
the end
same as
zone
in
as he
all
can
these
only
other
muster a
indigenous
return to the
traditions,
14-yard
that we
line.
have
Dallas
this
offense set for
cloud
this
of
next
help
drive.
around us,
But
wishing
probably
to
not
assist
much that
us
they
on
can
our
do at this
journey.
point,
If we would
CD.
only
Down
tune
3
in
scores
and
late
take
in the fourth
notice.
quarter. This is going
And
to be a
what I
little too
find
much to overcome,
wonderful
you would
about
think.
that,
Yeah, they'll go down
rediscovery,
swinging, but in
find
the
it in the
end,
New Testament.
I think we saw the writing on the wall a while back because one team was clearly better than the other. And
he tries to force it in, and it's intercepted.
And
they're going to take over right there at the 22-yard line.
To see that you have the
so many times
best
we end the game, and as we're recapping it, we're talking about what offenses did and how they won the game. Let's flip this one over. The defense, they frustrated the offense the entire ball game. That's why they're walking out of here with a victory.
And they're going to love to walk out of here with that as their final act, that interception. Good way for them to end it. The Dolphins offense now working their way back onto the field. And this one all over but the shouting, you might say. Now, there's one timeout remaining defensively, but probably no real need to use it here.
Yeah, the only time they would use it, strictly for pride.
This will be stopped
Now, the
about 2
untouchables are
yards
people
shy of the
that the
marker.
whole
8-yard gain, second and
in
2.
your society says these people are disgusting, they're not to be acknowledged, you don't touch them, you don't look at them, you don't talk to them, and there's another class of people
They go again to Tomlinson, and now they're inside the 10 as he's brought down at the 9. 94 yards rushing here for LT and a first down.
I've got an idea. Let's get racing to the airport at the end of this game. Let's go to the post-game press conference. I have a feeling that the quarterback of this winning team is going to be giving a whole lot of credit to the running game and the offensive line.
Yeah, I was just going to say the offensive line, yes, carrying the ball has been key, but those guys up front, he's got it. Touchdown,
self-esteem.
A 9-yard touchdown run. And the Dolphins take the interception on defense and convert it into 6 points.
How can the self-esteem
So it goes from a 3-score to a 4-score lead here in the closing moments of the fourth quarter. And whether they got that bonus touchdown or not, it's been a pretty impressive
It has
performance.
to do with
And
the
they
world
did it with not much
in which
time
we live, in
left.
the world
But they took what little
journey.
time was on the clock and
If
used
you
it well,
live
didn't
in a
they?
world where
A
you
real
are on
exclamation
your
point
own,
on their
where you
end
are on
with
your
that
own.
score.
But our
So now the
ancestors
Dolphin
tell
offense
us
will stay
none
out
of
there
us
as they'll
are
go for
alone.
2.
Whatever this little world
Now
is
Dobbs.
doing, you have
And this is going to be caught. So add 2 more to the
you
lead
have
as they
great
continue to pour
grandparents,
it on
great,
here in the
great,
fourth.
great,
I
great
guess when you're at
grandparents
your
who
high,
have
I mean,
spirits and
I
other
would just go ahead and take
dimensions
the extra
who
point
are
and move
very
on, but apparently
interested
they've got
in you,
something to prove.
helping
Almost
you
feels
through
like
whatever
something
is
was
happening
said
in your
this
life.
week, and
It's
they
an
wanted to make
incredibly
sure that they
empowering
laid it on them in this
worldview,
game.
and it's the one our ancestors have journeyed with for thousands of years. Now,
After
what's
the touchdown,
interesting
here's
about that
Groupie to kick this one away.
worldview is that when you talk to traditional heroes, sometimes
This
you're a
taken
little
in
bit
right around the goal
agnostic
line.
about who
And he returns
are the
this to the
helpers
22.
and how they help and how they communicate transdimensionally and how
About set
they're
for this
around
next
for
drive by the
generations
Cowboys
past,
offense.
or exactly what they are.
This is just an exercise in futility. Do you even bother running a play here offensively?
I wouldn't, because
It
now
doesn't
is
matter,
not going to erase what's happened during the game.
what
And
and
that is
how.
going to officially
What's
draw the
more
curtain on
important
this
when you
one
talk to
as the
traditional
last throw
heroes is
intercepted.
that we listen
And he will bring
and
it
then weigh up.
back. It's a pick
So
six
you
and
and I
a
keep our
Dolphins
sovereignty,
touchdown.
and you and I keep our autonomy and weigh up
This
what
one
we
was
hear.
already ugly,
Because if
and
we're
now
willing to
it's
do
just
that
kind of
and say, well,
becoming a
that makes
feast on
sense,
the
that doesn't
defensive
make
side
sense,
of the
I'm
football.
not going to do that,
Yeah,
but I
but
will
it's a
follow
unit
that.
that knows
As
they've
long
got
as
this
we do
game
that,
in the
it doesn't
bag with this
matter
huge lead,
who those
and it's going to
voices
drive their
are
coaches
because you
crazy because
kept
they're
your
telling them play
sovereignty.
it straight, do all the right things.
And what I
These
find
guys
very
will be
interesting is
freewheeling
that
now.
imperial
All you got to take
Christianity
chances, and
didn't
that
want
one pays off with
any
an
of
INT
that.
and a return
First
for
of all,
6.
it didn't want
Well, this was a very
agnosticism.
close
It
ball
wanted
game at
people who
halftime, Charles,
believed
but in
in
the second
dogma.
half, that offense kind of
First
kicked
of
things
all,
all
36 to
together
3.
here,
didn't want
and they
people
were
with
able to
personal
pull away for the
sovereignty.
victory.
36
Brand,
to
I think
3.
they're the type of team that just looked in the mirror and said, hey, ton of
Wait a
pressure,
minute,
but
fourth
we're
quarter
the
is
type of team that
63.
can flat out
They
handle
was playing
it.
that
They
tough.
stood up,
So
stood
by
I
those
broke them
counts,
down.
they don't want
and
this
made it
traditional
happen for a
worldview,
victory.
and they certainly
So
didn't
that'll
want
do it
other
for
In the
your
fourth
sources
quarter,
of
it was
truth,
6
For
to
the
3.
rest of our
information,
crew,
and
I'm Brandon
healing.
Gaudin. You've been watching
They
Madden
wanted a
Ultimate
monopoly
Team
of
on
truth,
EA
as does
Sports.
any
For more,
imperial
check us
power.
out
The
at
idea that there would be other entities
EASports.com/Madden.
running
The
around giving
Dolphins
you
are winners here
alternative
as we say
information
so
Fourth quarter.
long
or
from South
alternative
And then we
sources
Florida.
scored 30
of
inside
power
the
or
fourth
healing.
quarter.
No empire wants that. What it wants is people who are dependent
Because I
on
locked
the state
down on
powers.
defense.
They don't want grassroots empowerment. And this indigenous
So I
story
would.
is about
Show you how I
grassroots
actually be
empowerment.
playing.
It's the same thing over there, Johnny. It ain't no different. I just
This
seen
stuff
you
don't
playing.
work.
What
my stuff be lagging
When I
to
was
where
in
it don't
Brazil in
work.
the 1980s, there were
It
two
do,
big
cause
No, it
forces
don't.
at play.
PlayStation 4 is not as fast as PlayStation 5.
Christian
It
spirituality.
doesn't mean that it's not working.
What was happening in terms
in the middle of
of
the game, it starts
church
glitching
life and church planting.
and then it goes back to normal.
John Paul II and the diocese who were trying to shut down indigenous knowledge. And then there were grassroots catalysts. They were also Roman Catholics, but they were monastic workers who were empowering local populations. And it was from that second group that I found Augusto, who gave me my education as to what was really going on. But whether you're looking at Brazil in the 1980s or the Roman Empire as it hijacked Christianity, or whether you're looking at ancient Judaism in the 7th century BCE, or Ghana, Canada, USA, Australia, the picture is the same. What the powers want is God and the king at the top, or God and the president at the top. And then in the middle you have the priests, the public servants, the education system, the media, and then at the bottom you've got the people who believe what they're told and do what they're told. That's the pyramid of powers that empire always likes